welcome here to another Kerfuffle showcase, and I am a bit of a train spot, I'll be honest today. This is right in my key demographic. Ollie Gleave, how are you today, sir?
Really well, thanks, Simon. Good to see you.
Good, good. Looking good. You've got all safari suited up there for me.
Well, I'm in the office today. Yeah, it's pretty warm and sunny, but yeah, excited for this one.
Good stuff. You should be as well. So the first thing we need to talk about is of course that you are CEO and founder of Loop, obviously the CRM and prospecting prop tech business. But and I mean this in the best possible sense. You've been around a bit, haven't you? So you have.
I like to think so.
I think you resonate with me, because in the past you've infuriated me more than just about any other human being. Which, by the way, I accept this is a bit of a weird way to introduce a demo, sorry, a webinar. But when we were obviously, I was previously at Repit and you were at Dupix, obviously founded Dupix as well there. We cross swords so many times because you were the up and coming challenger brand, weren't you? And I was always, for the first time in my life, having to be agile and keep up with what you guys were doing there in terms of the product that you'd created was really innovative and very different to anything else that had come at the time. You built a unique culture. I think that was, before culture was really a thing in prop tech care. And then secondly, and this was unfortunate for me, you knew your sales technique really well and your detail, and all of these were ticks that I didn't have in my kit bag. So famously, I remember we were always going out and going head to head, weren't we, with some of the biggest pitches, and not to get all granddad and during the war, but that was quite an exciting period. What do you remember back from those days in terms of obviously with your previous business?
Yeah, and it was a few years ago now, wasn't it? So I think that era was kind of 2008 through to sort of 2012, 13 was where we were, walking out of demos and seeing you walk in. And I think, we were the challenger brand. We came from a very sort of humble beginning. We were one of the first web-based systems at Dupix. And it was us and Expert Agent from memory. And, we used to go up against the, if you like, the legacy brands and the legacy desktop products with, servers in the corner and a lot of IT spaghetti going on there. And I think as we developed the product and built the team out, we naturally went up into the Repit kind of market, in that top quartile space. And, I have fond memories of, going into battle, as you put it, and, winning some and losing some. But it's a big old market, and luckily, you and I, we never fell out, but I would say the same about the guys from Desres and Expert Agent and all that kind of stuff.
I absolutely loved it. I mean, it genuinely, for me, there's a weird thing is you can take competition one or two ways. You can kind of get embittered and emboldened, or it can make you strong. And there's no doubt at all that what you did took us out of our comfort zone and pushed us on to do stuff. And I'd like to think that kind of helped go back the other way. But I think what I'd like to talk about, we're here to talk about Loop, but I think we really need to understand your background, don't we? Because there are plenty of, look, there's 1,000,001 CRMs, less than there were, it's got to be said, and we'll come to the reasons why there. But a lot of those people haven't lived and breathed it to the degree like, dare I say, you and I have in terms of that. I suppose the key question for me, though, is knowing, obviously, you've been there, you've done it, you've got a very successful business, you sold that out, obviously, time. What to use the vernacular, what made them drag you back in? What was it that you couldn't give up on? Was it that you saw the current sort of marketplace and thought, we can do better than that? I mean, clearly that's an element of it, but just talk us through the thought process as to what.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, look, the motivation to get in and do Dupix in the first place was based on an evolution of an idea that started with a portal and then kind of evolved into a CRM, and we became successful at getting into a market with a new product, a new message, and a new technology, and growing into that role. First time for me as a business owner, hiring in roles into the company to deal with the scale, and that was almost like the best MBA you could ever do without going to university. It was learning on the fly and building a business up, and we got a lot right. At the same time, we've got a lot wrong. And, you know, 7 or 8 hard years into that business, you know, we as business owners, that's myself and Tom, my technical director and other shareholder at the time, yeah, I wouldn't say we felt fatigued, but there was an opportunity to take the business that we had built and put it in a bigger business. And really, it was a recognition that the bigger business could maybe take that Dupix product on and do things with it that maybe we weren't experienced enough or willing to do. Huge responsibility when you've got 60 people on payroll, you've got 2,500, you know, agents and something like 5,500 people logging in. Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility that you bear with that, and you build that up over 7 or 8 years, and you're given an opportunity to put it in good hands, and that's what we did. So that was really the motivation to exit, and there's a whole story around that. But you know, I then took some time out of the industry, and you're always curious about what happened, you know, after that. And so, you know, I sat there on the sidelines, but observing the business, observing the industry. And what I saw was really just an opportunity to come back in and help the modern day estate agency with technology. And of course, my domain expertise is in CRM. I feel like I know that well. I've got to be honest, I don't think it's moved on terrifically far since we came out. I came out in 2015, 2016. But I thought there was an opportunity, and that's really around putting a great product back in the hands of an estate agent, supporting them really well, and offering fair and transparent pricing. Those are the 3 things that get me out of bed in the morning. And so our mission at Loop is to really get fair with the clients and listen to them and innovate around what it is they need in 2021, 2022 and beyond. You know, and I've got to say we are still quite young in that journey, but we're making progress. We've got a great team, we've got a great technology stack, and a lot of ideas that are maybe ideas that I wasn't able to quite see through at the old place. And so here we go again, you know, and it's exciting.
We go again. There's the phrase there, and it is nice having a blank canvas again there, isn't it? Because you sometimes when you're in the previous business there, you can't see the wood for the trees, can you? In terms of
that's right.
What's not going, so to have that break out of it again and look there. But I think there's a separate thing I just wanted to talk to you about is, you know, the CRM space may not perceptively have changed, but actually the industry and the way that people are looking to software has changed a fair bit. Did that enter into your thinking at all when you were looking at the marketplace, that clearly there's a lot more what would you say, sort of associate models, broker models,
right,
coming in now?
Yeah, so I would say that Loop has been going, you know, commercially about 2.5 years. There was a bit of a market research phase. Then there was what we call an MVP phase, which is your minimum viable product. That's where you're just kind of, in software terms, just throwing stuff together to see whether it's going to work or not. But I think, you know, we've been in the market now for 2, nearly 3 years properly, and we have seen a shift in market share towards, whether you call it an associate model or a self-employed model or whatever we want to call that. It's the operational framework that's changing in agency, and that does bring about the need to provide a different technology solution. But the main market, the market that I know the most and that I resonate with the most, is the independent high street model, if you want to call it that. And there's a lot of downward pressure on them around, you know, their own value proposition, their fee structure. What we're trying to do here is create more team collaboration within the agency, bring data into the conversation in a really meaningful way, and just give them speed and, if you like, this ability to be nimble in a market. You know, that's where we're focused. And of course, we try and wrap that around providing a fanatical support service. You know, that's the thing that I think we got really right at Dupix.
You did.
Sadly, that's not there so much anymore in that product, and you know, that's our opportunity. We were always very personal at Dupix, and we have that at Loop, and you know, that's one of the key things that our clients look for is that relationship with a technology partner. Ultimately, that's how we see ourselves.
Can I, now's the time for obviously me to be honest for the first time in my life. One of my little tricks, which I did use to pat myself on the back, because we, you know, at Repit, we were very, very proactive in terms of, you know, having a really good help desk, and, you know, with clearing policy and everything else. And when I'd been in a demo, I'd do the big I am, and I'd give them the phone. I'd say, ring our help desk. And, you know, I was
Someone
never
will pick up in two rings, right?
I was never let down since people did it, and I saw that. And then I'd throw out the, you know, I'd throw out a couple of competitors to do it, and invariably it would go through to an answer phone, and it would be, you know, press 1 for sales, and all the normal stuff there. Well, it just rang out forever. The only people that ever it balls me up on was when I did duplicates. So I think the one time I used you guys was it answered within about, you know, within about half a ringtone. I was like, I'm not doing that again. So
what you didn't see was the other side of the office to go, oh, Simon Wells calling us again.
Well, that's there's other stories that we won't be going on camera about me doing that. But I think that, joking about it, it's a thing that people that winds agents up no end, isn't it? You know, people talk about, us in the trade talk about software as a service, and what seemingly agents get they get perturbed about is that actually a lot of companies out there, a lot of prop tech, forget the second part of that promise as a service there, because something is tech, easily deployable. You know, a lot of these people aren't techies. They need hand holding. They need to be taken to at least get the most out of the products that we create. Because if they don't do that, they're never going to be in that really happy phase, are they? Where they're going to give you the best reviews, and indeed, obviously, on our platform, the reviews that people want to be able to see, to say, look, this is a company we want to trust. Because when people are looking at CRM, it's very different, isn't it, to like looking at like the widgets out there, like a valuation tool which they might use and then stop. CRM is a kind of one-stop shop, isn't it? It's almost like those swans mating for life there. You don't really go into it thinking we're going to just use this for a couple of years and then look around.
That's right. I mean, you know, the clue's in the name, right? When we talk about software as a service, to your point, we charge monthly. That's a fairly standard revenue model for most of the companies like us. But what does that actually mean? It means we have to get out of bed in the morning and provide a service. The way we deliver that service is through our product. You know, you log into Loop and you use it to run your business, and that's fine. But if that's all we did, then you just pay us up front, you buy the system and off you go. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is we're being paid by our clients to innovate, to support them, to listen to their needs and how the market's changing, and then build the product towards that. And I think that's the bit that a lot of companies in this space, in this industry, but also generally in software, overlook. They forget why they're being paid monthly. We're very clear about this. You know, we invest heavily in being able to provide a support, and we do that through, you know, phone, email, and everything else. But crucially, when you think about how you build a system, if the support burden is huge and you've got lots of people trying to ring you, something's gone wrong, right? Clearly, you know, and we don't really have that at Loop. We have a very light inbound support kind of requirement, partly because we're building the system again and it's easier to use, and we focus on speed and simplicity, you know, and that, again, that's part of the winning formula, I think.
You've mentioned that a couple of times now, and off camera we were talking about as well. You made that phrase that we're built for mobility and speed, and I love that. Actually, that demographic you're after of those independents who, by definition, want to be perceived as nimble. You know, they want to be more agile than their corporate competitors. You know, who might have all the resources in the world but can't change. You know, to change the market or to do things on a whim. That's really, really important. Isn't it? They want to find a partner that actually goes at the same pace as themselves.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think, you know, that our clients are in a very competitive space, that they're seeing a lot of pressure on their own businesses through interrogation of the fee structure, you know, the blurred value proposition, and so on and so forth. So it is hard being an estate agent. You therefore have to build trust and credibility in the market by being service orientated. And how you unlock your team in your estate agency to do that is you need technology that supports you in that role. So, you know, there are lots of ways to automate and fully automate your business. we've kind of come back. We know what those levels of automation look like, and they're, you know, as a software company, we can build fully automated workflows, right? The reason we haven't done that to a large degree in the platform is because that's not really what our clients want. They want tech to support a very human interaction and to support that relationship building. So, you know, we're very clear about to what extent does Loop automate stuff, and what bits do we leave for the agent to add the value. You know, and that then feeds into the whole prop tech argument of, you know, are we coming up against, are we working with systems that automate a problem that doesn't actually exist? I think we've kind of seen that in the market a little bit. But that's got to translate into an estate agent ultimately developing relationships with their clients, selling more houses, letting more properties, making more money. That's kind of where we go. And if you want to go all a bit dreamy about it, you know, our goal is to give time back to the estate agents so that they can spend more time either with their clients or with their families. And that's ultimately where we want to go with it.
Yeah, look, the title, as I always do, most professional people read out the title at the start, but I like to wait till we're halfway into. You know, the title for it was going to be future-proof, innovative, and forward-thinking. Loop, lacking the smile with the service. Loop, the CRM driven by the clients. That comes back time and time again whenever we talk to you, whether we're having whether we're eating a steak, having a drink, or whatever else, or just one of the trade shows. Clearly, you have to have the ideas and the vision yourself, but at no stage do you do that without the client in mind, or indeed with their input. That's always
right.
Has kept you, I think, kept you agile in that respect as well, hasn't it? Because if you do that, you've got that you mentioned yourself, that minimum viable product phase is always going to be lessened, isn't it? Rather than if you try to just unveil it Apple-esque style.
Yeah, that's right.
And the market says, actually, that wasn't what we wanted.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think, you know, we're now at the stage, as we sit here in kind of mid-August 2022, we're at a stage now where we're starting to build like a product committee, which is 50-50, 50% us, 50% clients. We've got 6 on the panel that we're looking for within our client base, and then we've got 6 people here at Loop. And that steering committee looks at, well, you know, really what's the priority, how's the market moving, how's the product going to support that? And we're not going out too far. It's kind of what can we achieve in the next 3 or 6 months. Every software company that I've come across has a roadmap, and we talk a lot about the roadmap. If you wait till this time next year, we'll have all this stuff.
Yeah,
can
you see it though? No, you can't see it.
No, that's right. No, and you know, we're not going to fall into the trap of making promises that go out any more than really 4 to 8 weeks. Like I can say with certainty what will be in the platform by, say, mid-September. I know that as a slam dunk statement. If you ask me what's coming in October or November, I can tell you what the flavour is going to be, but I can't tell you precisely what those things are going to be. So the steering committee is going to help us look at the quarterly planning, and that's really based on feedback. You know, we've got some clever people downstairs. They can build anything that we want, but is it relevant? Does it move the needle for the estate agency client? Does it help them deliver a better service? Does it help them sell more houses? If it doesn't, it's not going in. And the best people to tell us what those things are the very people that use the system. So I'm really excited to be getting into that with the help of some of our product guys, you know, when everybody's back from their summer holidays. And that's going to help us massively into 2023, where we've got some big ticket items coming next year.
I'll be stunned if you didn't, Ollie, to be honest. And let's talk about one of those big ones, because again, one of those ones where I just took my hat off to you and thought was when we first sat down and you spoke about your vision, and you were clearly starting this from the prospecting side of things more than anything, wasn't it? And I'd always tried to retrofit in my previous existence, you know, kind of that prospecting side of things into a CRM, because it seemed to me so obvious that if you could end up with a prospecting tool embedded within a CRM, you've truly got a weapon of mass destruction there, haven't you, in terms of what you can deliver for your client base?
Yeah, it's the data advantage really. And so what that does is it combines whole of market data, which is kind of what's on the market and what's happening in the market, with your very structured, you know, so if you call it sales management, but the CRM piece. Yeah. So one of the winning moves that we've got in the platform is when you get an inbound phone call as an agent or an email from Rightmove for the property to sell, Luke's pretty clever at bringing that property data back. So if it's been on the market with another agent for, let's say, 3 months, it's had 2 price reductions. When you're booking that appraisal, you have all that information at your fingertips.
Wow.
So the conversation moves very quickly from, receiving an inquiry and booking evaluation to developing a relationship around, well, we watch the market, we know that you're currently on the market with this guy, you've had 2 price reductions, and that's really just building credibility from the off. Now, I'll be honest with you, when we built our prospecting module, we didn't really have that roadmap in mind. We kind of discovered it and went, hang on a second, if we've got market data, how can we now improve the CRM experience? And so we got on with the business of doing that quite early. And now, of course, it's littered through the system, it's everywhere. So that market insight and that data intelligence is unique. And it is giving people the first mover advantage where they just come across as knowing more and understanding more, because as every agent knows, they're one of 3 or 5 on the sofa, and their job is to prove that they are the agent of choice for the following reasons, and data plays a huge part in that. Yeah.
And what's really clever about that, Ollie, is that there are other data sources, there are other prospecting sources. But as we know, the minute that you put any artificial Chinese wall between stuff like that, you've got a bounce. You've got, it doesn't get done unless it's. But having it there as you, served up to you, having it
that's
there,
right.
That's the key difference, isn't it? That's when you know that things happen almost every time, and that raises that, because what you're not doing on, isn't it? In other businesses, those ones I mentioned before, where there are separate, separate tools, you'll find that, dare I say it, the techies, or those that are comfortable with the tech, doing everything that they need to do and using all those tools that can help them win business. But the other people in the business who might just feel they're overworked or don't have the same technical ability won't be using that, and of course they then won't have all the ability to impress the potential clients out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, at Dupix we were, I think, one of the first to build a fully integrated sales, lettings, property management and accounts module package. And where we led, others followed, and there is only a couple or 3 maybe in the market today that have that advantage. We don't at the moment at Luke. We don't have property management or accounts, but I guess the best kept secret is, of course, we are working on that. That's something that we're excited to be talking about towards the end of this year, and that's the same principle of one login, one phone number for support, one product to learn and to understand. What we now have is an ecosystem of prop tech, and there's some very, very good people in that space, from tenant referencing to client accounts and everything in between. The challenge that we've got next year, and we don't really have many answers to this just yet, is to what extent do we integrate and how do you pick, how do you back a horse in some of those certain verticals? We've seen a competitor that has a marketplace philosophy. I love that. I think that's very clever. I don't know whether that's playing out the way they expect or not. But yeah, this idea that you kind of log into one thing and run your agency through a single login is kind of strategically where we're at. Like that's where we're going.
Any business anywhere, doesn't it? You see something, an area to go after, you either build it yourself, you partner, or you acquire.
Yes.
Now, unless we're in the the corporate world and have got loads of VC money, the last one is normally taken off the table for us. So it is about what do you do? What do you do there? My question was going to be, and thank you for being so honest about it, by the way. It's really interesting to hear the kind of as you're talking about it, because it's such a difficult area, isn't it? Is you can one of the things that agents quite rightly got upset about in days gone by was what a closed garden essentially the CRMs were. And it was interesting as you went through that kind of approach. In days gone by, as we know, the old Vibras, as they would have been known, had a policy of one rule or one system to rule them all. And we'll have, we will have a tenant referencing system. We will have a lettings package. We'll have everything all within just one thing here. But that kept really frustrating the agents, didn't it, who actually had their own favorites, had their own incumbents at the time. But here's the thing is, if we spent all of our time integrating with everyone our clients did, the core product itself wouldn't develop any further.
Absolutely right. Yeah, it's a real dilemma in tech terms. You want to play nicely with everybody, I want to offer 5 or 6 tenant referencing solutions within the platform. I'm going to probably do one to start with, and that will be us, through our clients, of course, looking at what the market leading tenant referencing tool is, and backing that horse. We had a great experience with Van Mildert, that's now been acquired by Rightmove. But what a fantastic partnership that was back in the day. They were very service orientated, so they shared our values. They had a great product. The turnaround time was fantastic. Agents really enjoyed it. The beautiful bit about that was it was a button press in Dupix, and it worked. Now that's the play that we're going for. But to your point on this closed sort of walled garden of data, it's complete nonsense to think that in 2022, you find yourself jailed with your own data in a system that A, technically can't get the data out, and B, culturally or from a support point of view is not prepared to help you get it out. So we're one of 3 or 4 packages in the market that have an open API. We talk about this all the time. What does it mean? You just open the gates and you allow third parties with the agent's authority to come in and take that data into a third party and do something with it. So we've got a lot of integrations running where we just open the gates and they come and play, and that requires no technical development from our side, which means, crucially to your point, we can focus our energy, our investment, our time and our people on the core product. We know what we're good at. That's best of breed CRM. We're not going to build tenant referencing. That's just not what we do. We're not going to build e-marketing and digital. It's just not what we do. But we have to be able to open this up for our clients to use what they want.
And that's the big difference, isn't it? Whether you're looking at, kind of marketplaces, but open APIs, to have thought that through from the ground up is what will make the difference going forwards. And it's good just to hear that you're obviously thinking about you've already thought about this at this stage to be able to be nimble enough again. So
that's right.
And I suppose
that was built into sort of the architecture of the product all those months ago now, and it's paying dividends now because we have an answer to, like we took on a new client the other day who worked very, very closely with a very local digital marketing agency in Sheffield. Okay, they're not in the prop tech space. They just happen to have a very large estate agency client. They needed the data, within 15-20 minutes they've got access to the data and off they go. So no technical intervention required there. And that's the sort of stuff that plays really well.
It does play really well, and it goes back to what you were talking about before, though, isn't it? If you're dealing with those independents, one of the things they want to do is to stand out from the crowd, to be the purple cow. And if they can't get to that data that enables them through many of these marketing and digital marketing or traditional marketing, that's always going to frustrate them, isn't it? So it's fantastic we can do that. Just going back to it as well, it always helps, though, when somebody is looking for an integration piece. If they're an ex-professional rugby player, it puts a lot of stress on you to make sure you deliver right, doesn't it?
That's right. You might get a knock at the door one day. Yeah, that's it.
Our good friend Christian. Right. No one was saying no to Christian, from what I remember.
No, that's right. Yeah, and he hasn't got any smaller, that guy either. And I'm not saying he put weight on, but yeah, he's just he's big bone, that boy.
Not for me to say, the silverback himself. But anyway, okay. Ollie, what else is there that separates you from the competition? And I suppose on 2 levels here, what separates you at the moment, and what separates you, I suppose, in terms of ethos and beliefs as well going forwards? Where do you want to be seen as a business going forwards?
Yes, that's a good question. I think the business is changing a lot as we grow and as we bring more clients into the service. I think at the heart of what we care about, it's providing a great product with a great service at a fair and reasonable price. Okay, that's just business basics for us. And the preservation of those 3 things is the challenge. So, the product thing is a need to continually innovate, but also rotate back through and make sure that the basics are being done properly. And that is work ongoing all the time. At no point do we think a product is finished, or even that a feature is done. It can always be optimized, and we make it easier to use, we make it more comprehensive, and so on. So we split our development time into 2 parts. We refine existing features and we build new stuff in. And that's really off the back of going into the market and observing traditional systems. And one of them begins with J. It's a very popular product. It's a very, very strong product. There's nothing wrong with it.
Guy who did that previously, he knew what he was on about.
Well, he claims he does, but yeah, I mean, look, in all seriousness, you know, that is a product that at the mechanical level is very, very strong.
Yeah.
The sadness is that it's not being developed, it's not being innovated. You could argue that some of the bias, the emphasis is on a different product, and that's fine, and we would understand why that's the case. So we're going in and we're just taking that product and we're just bringing it into the 2022 kind of era and beyond. So that is based on what I've built before. Great product, great service at a fair, reasonable price. That's where we are right now. Where we're going, I think, into the future is to be more comprehensive for more agents, and that's just a case of maturing the product, listening to our customers, and building relevance. You know, and we are in a changing market. The shift from, if you like, traditional agency to these new models that are emerging means that we need to deliver technology in a different way. So we're thinking a lot, developing a lot around mobile. We're looking at referral networks. We're looking at how agents, you know, keep their fees high by demonstrating value. That's back to the whole data argument. There's lots of things that we talk about and plan for the future. But I think, you know, being candid, again, with coming off the back of interest rates going up and uncertainty in the market and consumer confidence now starting to ebb away, what does that mean for us all in the property sector? And crucially, what does it mean for our clients? So I think there's a bit of a cost-cutting exercise that's imminent, you know, for these guys.
I'll tell you now, Ollie. I think it's happening. We see people when we do our kind of our reviews with people. We check in with them quarterly. There, we see what those suppliers that they've got in their dashboards, and we see when they start losing those.
Right.
And I've been really surprised actually at not just the fact that people have been churning seemingly products. But also ones at a cheap price point. You know, normally those ones would probably be ignored or everything else there. There is a genuine nervousness from people out there at the moment that is now starting to match itself. Highlighted with that cost-cutting element. Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't think, you know, why aren't more people talking about the cost of this stuff? And actually, the classic market dynamics is if you're in a booming market, then you as a supplier can put your price up and gain off the back of your clients gaining. But that leaves them high and dry when there's a downturn, and we are in a cyclical market. We are going into a period of uncertainty for the next 12 or 18 months. I think, you know, you know, we talked about motivation earlier. Genuinely back in this market to stop people getting ripped off. Like, I really think that that's a thing. Our competitors charge a lot of money and don't deliver a great service. So I'm going to go and change that, and we are changing that. And you know, that's the bit between our teeth. But with that, you have to provide a great product and a great service. So you've got to charge a reasonable amount. But yeah, I think we are going to emerge as the, if you like, the being cost fair and service orientated, and that's for me. I think that's a winning formula.
Excellent. Well, that sounds. A lot of people will be nodding their heads, thinking that sounds, you know, something I want to be part of as well. And you mentioned that, you know, obviously once you go beyond a quarter, it's very difficult. But where do you see that product going in the next couple of years? What are those themes, those kind of elements that you want to see going forwards? Give us a flavour of what you're thinking there.
Yeah, you know, I think when we look at what does a state agency start to look like in 18 months, 36 months, further out 60 months, or 5 years' time, I think there'll be some consolidation in the market. I think there'll be a scenario where only the best performing, highest service-orientated agents survive, if you like. It's not difficult to come into this market and start trading. I think it's increasingly difficult to get in and stay in. So to that end, you know, I think there'll be fewer people practicing property, but I think the requirements for a company like us, for example, will be to deliver technology that allows them to keep a lower cost footprint, deliver a better service to their clients, connect in ways that are, you know, already well established in other markets, like you know, putting your clients in touch with the data that you've got, so sharing viewing feedback, updating them on sales progression. All of these things are sort of loosely established in our market right now, but do they actually fully connect and talk to each other? No, not yet. You know, so I think we're going to see the technology advantage mature. And with that, you know, that if you like, that conduit between the client and the agent's going to become a lot closer, and we want to play a part in that. So yeah, I'm not into predicting the future. You know, our planning lens is probably 12 or 18 months, and beyond that, who knows? We've got to get through this economic cycle first. So our focus right now is just deliver the best product we can that's relevant to our clients, and you know, charge a reasonable fee for that.
Excellent. One of the biggest challenges we've ever faced is, let's face it, it's not the, you know, it's not our wonderful competitors in this CRM space, actually. You know, it is the intransigence, isn't it? It's people, it's the agents themselves. This is the way we've always done it. Let's not have a look at a new package because, well, they're all pretty much the same thing. And we struggle with that because actually CRM is such a big decision to make for agents.
Oh, it's huge, yeah.
They often kick the decision into the long grass, don't they? You know, because it can't be, you know, it shouldn't be bought on a whim or something like that. And there's a graveyard of products out there that have actually, if you could bed them down and get them working properly, they could work really well.
Yeah.
But the onboarding often fails them, doesn't it? I know you've been fanatical about this for you know, in every business you've been involved with. What are the pain points of migration and rollout? What, you know, what should you be thinking about, and how can you help these guys out, I suppose, minimize the disruption in what needs to be done?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've been personally responsible for thousands of installs, but let me tell you, I've witnessed, observed, and got involved in thousands of installs back at my time with Dupix and more recently with Loop. Moving a client from a system to another system is hard. You know, there's no question about it. But it's a process that lends itself to structure and communication incredibly well. So the things that make people hesitate or nervous about the switch in the first place is the impact it has on the business, the loss of data. You know, the feeling that if you go from this product to this product, I'm going to lose stuff in the middle. Inertia to change through the staff. You know, you have people that are very au fait with the old system, but you know, aren't prepared to look at new systems and all that kind of stuff. And then of course you have training and education, you have website integration and portal feeds and all this stuff going on. And what you have to do when you move someone from one system to another is you have to get all of those things right just to be okay, right? Yeah. If one of those things goes wrong, you can very quickly become undone. So, you know, I come from a position of experience, and I'm pleased to say at Loop, I feel like we are pretty tight on this. It's about understanding the pain points of that process, and then putting either people or process to guide the agent through that, and then communicating as we go through. And I think our reviews probably speak for themselves in terms of taking clients that are very well established, that have been on the system for 10 or 12 years, or even longer in some cases, and then coming out the other end live on Loop, and then that bit in the middle was just kind of taken care of. We're pretty good at that. And you know, not going into too much detail, but you know, maybe that's a conversation we can have later on. We have something called incubation. So what that does is it goes from us agreeing that they want to move to Loop and putting them into a very structured, non-sales, but very communicative process that is handled by a combination of ex-estate agents and technicians, all of whom work in Loop full-time. That's all they do. And
it's really important to have that combination, isn't it? You're talking about.
Oh, it's crucial.
Yeah,
it's crucial. So we have our ex-estate agency product consultants on site, guiding the client, helping them out. And then, of course, we've got a technical aspect to things like data migration and website configuration and so on. But that's just putting it through a very structured process. And then it's about communication, and then dealing with some of those objections that come up. So, you know, I don't know of any other company that does kind of on-site training, but that's a really key part for us. We do something called shoulder surfing. So once we've delivered the training, we've gone live, we don't just get in our cars and go home. We stick around for however long it takes, and we are over the shoulder of the end users. So we are now in their office, we're observing the phone ringing, and we're making sure that they can book that viewing into the diary. We're making sure they can generate a memo of sale. We stick around, and it's a false economy to deliver training online. It's a false economy to say, there's our YouTube channel, help yourself. It's a false economy to leave early and expect these people to just get on with their life. We you know, and that limits the number of installs that we can do per week, per month, but we're okay with that. We are okay with that, because we would rather have a fewer number of clients that are completely tucked in and happy than go crazy and try and win the war in one go and leave everybody high and dry. That's not what it's about for us.
I'm grinning again, sorry, in a terribly unprofessional fashion here, because I'm just thinking again, Ollie, you utter bastard. This is exactly the sort of stuff that I mentioned at the outset. I felt kind of defines you know, out there in thinking again, not that horrible phrase, outside of the box, but
yeah,
this is something that we're not hearing too much of at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
As the eternal drive to go SaaS, to go online, to go cloud, it's almost like people feel like they're going to detach themselves from the service element there.
Yeah.
What you have described there, I can tell you now, 99% of agents will say, I'm having that, I want that, that's what I need. It also shows what a terrible job I used to do, because what did you call it? Crowd surfing again?
Shoulder surfing. Surfing. It feels like crowd surfing sometimes. Sorry. But yeah, shoulder surfing.
So we used to call it. We call it. Was it now? Was it floor walking? Which it brings.
We do a bit of that as well.
It brings up connotations of something else, really, doesn't it? In terms of there, but it's a you know, you can't underestimate, for some people, the level of terror, the level of discomfort they have by, hang on, I used to do it like that in my old system. My old system I've used for 20 years. So for somebody to come in and just be there and say, look, that's fine. This is how it used to do it in a CFP or an expert agent, and this is how we now do it here and there. And actually, it might be there's a whole new different way of doing it, or it might be you just don't know how to do it. But I agree.
I think the Trojan horse to that is the shoulder surfing gives the end users comfort that we're still around. But what we're actually doing is we're understanding how that agent in Derbyshire works compared to that Central London agent, compared to that North Devon agent. You do have these regional differences. It's very nuanced. You can't get that from a screen share or a support ticket or a phone call. You have to be there with them. It's building relationships, it's building trust, and it means that they have a good experience with starting life on Loop. That's kind of how we think about it. I don't want to go all soppy on anyone here, but when you kind of emotionally align yourself with the client, then you start to resonate with what their pain points are. And then crucially, the bit that we spend a lot of time on is conveying that back down into our development team so that they understand what the pain points are, what the challenges are. And again, software companies, just generically across any corner of the world, they have two teams. They have a business development team, and then they have a technical team. And the technical team never really get out of the office. They never really understand why they're doing what they're doing. I think we've closed that gap quite well at Loop, and we were very good at it at Duplex. I think we're even better at it with Loop. So it's not unusual with some of our clients to have some of our techies, spend a day or two in their office. Now, they've never booked a viewing in their life. They've never sold a house in their life. Yeah. But crikey, they come back to the office well-informed, well-educated, because they've seen what our end users have to do as part of their day job.
Yeah, it shoots down that Ivory Tower accusation that actually is not a bad description of many prop tech businesses.
It is.
It is in there, actually. That really does, because otherwise it will ultimately, if there are issues, there are challenges within any package, they will inevitably make themselves back to that tech development team and everything else there. But it will be such a delay, and in all that time, you've got the clients gnashing their teeth, haven't they?
Yeah.
Why don't they see what we see on a daily basis?
Absolutely.
When you feel that and you feel their frustration, you can see the frustration there. If there is a genuine point to be made, then that's gonna that again, it's all about just minimizing this. Because the MVP stage, interestingly enough, doesn't it, is we always think that's always just at the evolutionary stage of a package. But you reach MVPs dependent on where you are. Once you want to start hitting larger businesses or go and hit corporates, or you want to hit departments, you want to land new homes, you want to launch the account software. All of these still have that MVP phase, and everything you can do to make that consensual and just accelerates the development and the process for all, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean, we talked about culture, and culture is a big topic, and I'd love to just spend time talking about that. Maybe again, that's for another day. But one of the things that we've worked on quite a lot is not becoming defensive about the product. Like, we smash the product every day from every angle, and no one sits on their hands and holds in something that they think we can do to improve the system. So what you get is you get this hive of activity around the product from our clients, from our prospects, from our sales guys, from our product guys, and from people like me. And we just pull it apart all the time. How do we make it better? How do we make it faster? How do we make it simpler? And any software company, particularly in the space that says we're done, or we think we've got this right and it's perfect, they don't really know what they're talking about. At no point is this product finished. We have areas of the system that we need to improve on, right? I could tell you exactly what those things are now if you wanted, but it's the recognition, it's a cultural recognition that the work never stops.
Yeah.
And you know, I love that about it, because you know, I don't want to finish this thing. I want to keep going.
No, I've been lucky enough to meet a large number of you, but you've also got Mark Bevan, who's just joined you in. You could call him Mr. Culture. I mean, he was fundamental as well, wasn't he, in working hand in glove with you in those early days. He obviously was. I mean, Mark, he may look like Peter Pan, but he's been around this industry.
He's a big version of Peter Pan. He's 6'5", isn't he?
A tiny-headed, big version of Peter Pan, but but what you've got there again is, you know, just going back, is getting the people who believe. You know, you can't fake enthusiasm, you can't, you know, you can't fake caring, can you, and everything else there, and that. To have people, lots of people watching this will know Mark from all these, whether they've actually been a client of his or not, because he's such a, and he's got that. You know, I always used to be amazed, slightly appalled, the amount of time he'd be looking at, you know, he'd be looking at his clients online and shouting their successes, whether that's they have won an award, opened a new office, whatever it is there. That matters, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yeah. And it's genuine, it's authentic as well. You know, I've been out on the road with Mark a lot in the last 3 or 4 months, you know, and that's been a fundamental shift coming off the back of the pandemic, where the car sat on the driveway for nearly 2 years. I'm now gone all over the place with Mark and Phil and Chris and others. We want to press the flesh and get in front of these people, and rekindle those relationships. And what you get there is on a case-by-case basis, a real understanding of what kind of agent are they, what kind of team have they got, what kind of culture have they built, and how does technology fit into the conversation. And Mark is a complete rock star, as are all the other loopers that do their respective jobs. You know, I really missed working with people, that bit between, you know, leaving Dupix and not really doing a great deal and then starting Loop. What I fundamentally missed was just working with people and solving problems. And, you know, so from a selfish and personal point of view, it's great to have people like Mark and others in the team, because that drives us on and drives me on. It's
really
great.
That's great. Can we just run through just a few bullet point features of the software itself? Actually, that always gives the flavour. If somebody's out there using a package at the moment there, I've heard a lot of what you said, and I think there's going to be big ticks in the box there. But actually, let's just look at some of the stuff that you do. I think is really clever. Do you want to just give us a really quick elevator pitch of what the automated viewing feedback kind of service there? Because when we challenged you lot originally to give us a statistic that would make us kind of pay attention, and this one in particular was that 47% of buyers, I think, now fill out the automated viewing feedback email, allowing agents to concentrate their time on following up with the most qualified applicants. Now, I get it. Could you just give us a bit of an overview of that? Because that's a truly powerful bit of tech you've got there. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, you know, I don't think it's we're not flying to the moon with this feature. You know, this is straightforward, but what it does, it solves a pain point around volume and relevance. So the automated viewing feedback is effectively an optional feature that an agent can turn on or off in their software. So it lends itself to an agent that wants to have the system help them get feedback from buyers when they've actually seen the property. So it deals with carried out viewings, accompanied or unaccompanied. If you're a buyer and you walk out of 18 Acacia Avenue, an hour later you'll get an email from the agent, fully branded, and it will be asking you to provide feedback on that viewing. And that feedback questionnaire, if you like, is a completely customizable set of questions. I was going to ask, it varies per agent, so it's nice. So you might want to ask them, you know, how did you find the location? What did you think of the price? Or you can add or remove questions as you see fit. So what that typically looks like is the buyer has the property fresh in their mind. they've had time to reflect, and the response rate, the engagement is incredibly high. You know, it's actually more like 55% now because we've optimized the delivery of that. So what that means is the buyer is more honest because it's through an online form.
Yeah.
It's more convenient. It's generally done on mobile. So overwhelmingly, the AVF is responded to on a mobile phone, like north of 80%. The agent gets the feedback faster and is able to translate that back to the seller even quicker. So everybody's winning now. The feedback is more honest. It's coming in quicker, and it's being pushed back to the vendor in a more timely way. It also crucially allows people to derive pricing information. So even for those that don't offer, one of the questions could be, what do you think the property's worth?
Yeah.
And so that's helping with pricing and that whole market dynamics thing.
Absolutely. So, it's giving the honest look. It's not me, the estate agent that you might not trust, Mr. Vendor. This is what the market's giving you the feedback on, isn't it? So
that's right.
It's got to help.
That's right.
I think you did yourself a disservice there, to be honest. You know, self-deprecating. It is simple, but as ever, the best ideas can often be based around simplicity, can't
it?
It
is simple, but it's pretty powerful. Yeah, and you know, look, it didn't take us long to build that. It was kind of 10 development days to kind of get that in. But again, how that came about was we had the viewing workflow in Loop, and you could do everything as an agent, as you would expect. And then one of our clients said, look, we've got this. We've got this need to kind of deal with some volume. You know, open houses, you can have 30 or 40 viewings happening on a Saturday. You know, that's taken it from 30 or 40 phone calls to maybe 5 or 6. Those people that don't respond to the AVF, or where they're elderly and you've turned it off just for them, and you actually want to ring them. So again, on a case-by-case basis, you can turn that on and off. And that's just, you know, an example, if you like, of listening to the client feedback, building something in the system, packaging that up really well. And now everybody loves that. And of course, we show that on demos and trainings.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Well, I remember we did a bit of market research, just looking at sort of around looking at ourselves, but looking at the competition, and it was around a third of all viewings had no feedback on them. And of course, this wasn't because the agents weren't out there asking. It's that actually, unfortunately, these days, these phones, a lot of the public don't see them as actually for their core service. They see somebody ringing, unless they are 100% interested in taking that call, it just gets put through to the voicemail, doesn't it? Yeah. That leaves the agent in a really vulnerable position, because it just looks like they're being lazy again. So exactly you can tease that extra information out of them, and to get that up to almost 100% completeness is got to be fantastic for everybody.
That's right. Yeah, no, it definitely works. Yeah.
Love that one. Okay, great. So the Loop Pocket Edition, is this your mobile version then of
it is
software?
Yeah, so we have what we call a companion app called Pocket Edition. Anyone that's using Loop has access to the system clearly through your iPad, your desktop, your laptop, and everything in between. It works within the web, so you're not installing anything. And then crucially on your phone, whether that's an Android or an iPhone, you have access to the app. So that's included in the subscription. It's not, we don't charge extra for that or anything daft. And what Pocket Edition does is it allows you to take the data with you on the move. So you can access property details, you can access people, phone information, what they've viewed, all that kind of stuff. And then what we've also done cleverly is we have something called Sidewalk. Now, Sidewalk is effectively leveraging that market data we talked about earlier. So if you're on Acacia Avenue and you bring up Sidewalk, that shows you on a map everything that's on the market with other agents, how long it's been on the market for. And if you're one of these agents that has a pack of leaflets, or you want to go door knocking because you're in the area, that's a green activity. You know, you're there, you may as well use that 15 minutes before an appointment, or that 20 minutes after or between appointments, to go and introduce yourself in that area. And what Sidewalk does is it maps you around that little area, so you can go on a walk and a door knock. So it's little things like that. And we've assembled a team around Pocket Edition now, because we see, like, strategically, the mobile experience being really fundamental to the future of agency. So a lot of investment going into Pocket Edition now. And that's part of our 2023 plan, is to really build that out and make that a fully functional app, because everybody's on their phones these days.
To give essentially those mobile warriors the tools that they need for the job, so they don't need to be going back to the office each time to do the stuff they need to.
No, that's right. I mean, I would also argue in the same breath that taking a property onto the market doing your photographs, the floor plan, writing the descriptions, all that kind of stuff you do for Rightmove. You're just never going to do that on a phone. Okay, I can't innovate in my head how that would actually work on the phone, but I think it's perfectly reasonable to, you know, build out, you know, messaging services and more comprehensive access to data and so on. And that's where we're going with Pocket Edition. But, you know, it's not Pandora's box on a 4-inch screen. It's just never going to work.
The prospecting we've spoken of, one of the things I wanted to clarify there is people still have the ability to kind of come and take just the prospecting service from yourselves, separate from the CRM. Is that can you separate it out like that?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's built on really the modular system of Loop. So before we even had CRM, that's all we sold was prospecting, and so now we have both, and you can have one or the other. And then, of course, in the future, you could, if you just started with CRM, for example, or just started with prospecting, you can then come back and say, actually, I now want the other bit, and we just activate that, and it's all in one. So everybody gets to log into Loop. What you see in Loop is based on, you know, what you're licensed to see. Yeah.
Okay, cool, great. And then there's an element where you can get the market knowledge directly embedded in the platform when booking a market appraisal. Is that what you were talking about before? Again, that ability to be able to see that information being pulled across from the data banks you've got?
Yeah, that's right. So that's just really leveraging the prospecting license. So if you are a prospecting and CRM, if you like, bundle deal, then prospecting in terms of, you know, sending content to properties that are on the market, letters, postcard, leaflets, and so on. That's what we call prospecting. And then we flow that data into CRM. It's the same thing effectively. Oh, yeah. You're not paying twice for anything. It's once you've got the market data, then it kind of shows itself all over the platform.
Brilliant, Ollie. I'm going to just jump onto the kerfuffle.com, and I encourage everybody, as ever, whenever we're talking about this, you've heard Ollie talk so eloquently about the business and what it's doing and what it's going to be able to do. But, you know, we always say have a look at their landing pages, because, of course, that's where we see people who are actually using the package, being able to do it. And you've got I think you've got a 4.9 rating. Really, really strong. Some of the reviews in there from some very forward-thinking agents. You know, they've just backed up everything you've said, which is obviously what this is all about. Yeah. Sometimes there's a discrepancy between what the marketing has and what's there, but it's very clear that actually you're totally in tandem, as you've spoken about there. So do have a look. Go to Loop on kerfuffle.com and see what they see further information on there.
Yeah, and look, the bit that I'm interested in, and you know, this is maybe something for you guys at Kerfuffle to think about, is I'm less concerned about the starting experience than I am what does life look like a year down the road, you know, because the honeymoon period is great. You know, everyone's excited. The real acid test for me, and the bit that I'm watching now, is the satisfaction score of our existing clients that have been with us 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Are we still as good? Yeah, because as we grow, those three principles around product, service, and price still matter. They're not just throwaway comments. I want to ensure that we are maintaining this position of excellence, you know, and that's the bit that I'm spending a bit of time on right now, is how do we preserve that? So, you know, a follow-up review with these people that put in an initial review is the real acid test for me. And yeah, we're delighted. You know, we put ourselves out there. Kerfuffle for us has been a great platform to show transparency, real world feedback, and you know, people don't hold back on that. So that's our guiding, that's our yardstick really on how well we're doing. It's been great for us.
I think so. Great, and thank you for those kind words. I think it is really important. And again, one of the other ways we love to differentiate ourselves is that we do have that ability to have the follow-up reviews on there. I always remember, I think that actually it almost shows, you know, it's greater than the sum of its parts, isn't it? The ones I felt really passionate about were the guys that actually who'd been with us 4 or 5 years and were still giving reviews and saying how they were using the package in a different way, because as you just said, you're growing the package in different ways. So that's great. And the other thing is, you know, you're already getting video reviews on there, and I always think this is a really true differentiator of those that talk the talk and walk the walk. If you've got clients that are willing to go on, you know, to do a video on there and talk about it, so go and have a look at the video review section there. There's a fantastic review in there. I think, you know, it tells it all. Ollie, look, as I said, I've only just noticed I'm massively overshot, as I always was going to on a thing with you. I think from my point of view, if I'm thinking about summarising it, you're offering something very, actually seemingly very different in quite a same sort of a genre, as it were. Some of the things you talk about, clearly you've got such a technical strength and vision about what needs to be done, but it's actually backed up by a service ethos as well. And I think, if I was thinking in my head, trying to think of glib titles there, it's almost like, for me, you feel like the first hybrid prop tech, you know, that you are the software with a service. And that's a really, really nice place to occupy, isn't it? Into,
it is.
You said, an industry that has got a whole host of different providers in there.
Yes, that's right. So it's crucial, isn't it? I'm gonna use that one if I can. Software with a service. I like it. Yeah, you know, look, we're excited. It's great to be back in the market. Those of you that have worked with me before will have probably heard from us, but you know, we're having a great time, and we love this industry as well. We love the people that work in it, and yeah, you know, onwards.
Excellent. Well, that's why we're, as like the mafia, we're both dragged back in, aren't we, into an industry that we love and can't step away from it. Well, Ollie, look, let's catch up again. I want to.
Good on you.
Dennis, we will talk to you. I'll catch up with Bev when he's finished sunning himself as well, and talk to some of your clients as well about some of the different things that you're doing. But
love to do that.
Thanks so much for taking the time to explain to us about Loop.
All right, you're welcome. Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers, matey. Thank you. Bye.